June 22nd on this day, in 1377, Richard II, still a child at the time, began his reign as King of England following the death of his grandfather, Edward III. His coronation took place on July 16th. In 1558, French forces captured the town of Thionville from the English, marking a significant shift in control during ongoing territorial conflicts. In 1633, Galileo Galilei was forced by the Catholic Church to recant his support for the heliocentric model, which held that the sun, not the earth, was the center of the universe. This position was declared vehemently suspect of heresy, and Galileo spent the rest of his life under house arrest. The Vatican later apologized for how it handled the case in October 1992. In 1675, King Charles II of England established the Royal Greenwich Observatory. This institution later played a major role in the advancement of astronomy and navigation. In 168 before the Common Era, the Romans defeated the Macedonians under King Perseus at the Battle of Pydna. This decisive victory marked the end of the Macedonian monarchy and allowed Rome to annex Macedonia. In 1757, George Vancouver, the English navigator known for his exploration of the Pacific Northwest, was born. In 1772, the Somerset versus Stuart court case established that slavery was unsupported by English common law. This ruling encouraged the abolitionist movement and marked a turning point in the fight against slavery in England. In 1807, British seamen boarded the American vessel USS Chesapeake, an aggressive act that provoked tensions and contributed to the outbreak of the War of 1812. In 1815, Napoleon Bonaparte abdicated as French emperor for the second time, effectively ending his rule over France. In 1848, the June Days Uprising began in Paris, as French workers protested against government policies. This event reflected widespread social unrest during the turbulent years following the Revolution. In 1865, the Confederate ship CSS Shenandoah fired the last shot of the American Civil War in the Bering Strait to indicate surrender. This marked the formal end of naval operations in the conflict. In 1876, General Alfred Terry ordered Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer to scout the Rosebud and Little Bighorn rivers in search of Native American villages. This action led to the infamous Battle of the Little Bighorn. In 1887, English biologist and philosopher Julian Huxley was born in London. He would go on to greatly influence the modern development of embryology and evolutionary theory. In 1894, famous escape artist Harry Houdini married Bessie Ronner, who later became his stage partner and assistant. In 1898, German novelist Erich Maria Remarque, best known for All Quiet on the Western Front, was born. In 1906, Billy Wilder, the famed American motion picture director and producer known for his satirical takes on American life, was born in Sucha, then part of Austria, and now in Poland. In 1910, German bacteriologist Paul Ehrlich announced a definitive cure for syphilis, representing a major advance in medical science. In 1910, Katherine Dunham, an African-American dancer, choreographer, and anthropologist, celebrated for her innovative interpretations of ritualistic and ethnic dances, was born. In 1911, King George V was crowned as the monarch of the United Kingdom, marking the beginning of a new royal era. In 1915, Austro-German forces occupied Lemberg on the Eastern Front during World War I as Russian troops retreated. This marked a significant moment in the shifting lines of the Eastern Front. In 1921, Joseph Papp, a significant theater director and producer, and founder of the New York Public Theater and Shakespeare in the Park, was born. In 1925, France and Spain agreed to join forces against Abd el-Krim in Morocco during the Rif War. This collaboration aimed to suppress the Rifian resistance. In 1930, a son was born to the famous aviators Charles and Anne Morrow Lindbergh, an event that attracted worldwide attention. In 1933, Adolf Hitler banned all political parties in Germany except the Nazi Party, solidifying his totalitarian regime. In 1937, challenger Joe Louis knocked out James J. Braddock in the 8th round at Chicago's Comiskey Park, becoming the world heavyweight boxing champion. In 1938, Joe Louis defeated Max Schmeling in the first round of a highly anticipated heavyweight boxing match at Yankee Stadium. This event became an iconic moment in sports history. In 1940, as Germany invaded France, the French government under Marshal Philippe Pétain signed an armistice with German forces. This action established the Vichy government, which collaborated with Nazi Germany. In 1941, Nazi Germany and its allies launched Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union. This largest military operation in history broke the German-Soviet non-aggression pact and marked a turning point in World War II. Although initially successful, the campaign ultimately ended in disaster for Germany due to harsh winter conditions and fierce Soviet resistance. In 1942, a Japanese submarine shelled Fort Stevens, located at the mouth of the Columbia River in Oregon. This attack marked one of the few times the continental United States came under enemy fire during World War II. In 1944, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the GI Bill of Rights. This legislation provided broad benefits for veterans of World War II, including financial assistance for education and housing. In 1945, the Battle of Okinawa came to an end as United States troops captured the archipelago. This marked a decisive defeat for Japan in World War II. The country's surrender followed 2 months later after atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In 1955, Walt Disney's animated musical Lady and the Tramp premiered in theaters across the United States, quickly becoming one of Disney's most beloved films. In 1956, the Battle for Algiers began as 3 buildings in the Kasbah district were blown up, marking a dramatic escalation in the Algerian War of Independence. In 1963, 13-year-old Stevie Wonder released his first single, Fingertips. Remarkably, this live, non-studio recording became the first of its kind to reach #1 on the Billboard charts. In 1969, the heavily polluted Cuyahoga River in Cleveland caught fire when an oil slick ignited. Although this was not the first fire on the river, it received national attention and spurred major environmental reforms that would ultimately lead to cleaner waterways. In 1970, President Richard Nixon signed the 26th Amendment, lowering the voting age in the United States from 21 to 18. In 1973, Skylab astronauts returned safely to Earth, splashing down in the Pacific Ocean after a record-setting 28 days in space. In 1977, Walt Disney's animated film The Rescuers was released. It became the first Disney film to receive a sequel. In 1978, astronomers discovered Charon, the largest moon of Pluto, expanding our understanding of the solar system's outer reaches. In 1980, the Soviet Union announced a partial withdrawal of its forces from Afghanistan, signaling a shift in its military involvement in the region. In 1981, Mark David Chapman pleaded guilty to the murder of musician John Lennon, bringing a tragic case to a close in the American justice system. In 1986, Argentine football player Diego Maradona scored his infamous Hand of God goal during the World Cup quarterfinal against England. The ball struck his hand, but the referee allowed the goal, and Argentina went on to win the tournament. Maradona later described the goal as scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. In 1990, Checkpoint Charlie, the famous border crossing between East and West Berlin, was dismantled after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Today, the site is a major tourist attraction and a symbol of the end of the Cold War. In 2008, American comedian George Carlin died at the age of 71. His groundbreaking 7 words you can never say on television routine led to a United States Supreme Court ruling that granted the Federal Communications Commission the authority to regulate broadcast content.
Subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's events.